If you are struggling with retroactive jealousy, unfortunately that probably means you're making a number of critical mistakes. In today's free video, I'm going to offer 4 more tips on how you can avoid making perhaps the top retroactive jealousy blunder. My name is Zachary Stockill, and since 2013 I have helped thousands of men and women from all over the world beat retroactive jealousy and save their relationships. If you'd like to work with me or you'd like more information about my work, please visit my website at retroactivejealousy.com. For the people here for the first time, the term retroactive jealousy refers to unwanted intrusive thoughts, often obsessive curiosity, and what I like to call mental movies about your partner's past relationships and or sexual history. And one of the most common mistakes that retroactive jealousy sufferers make is asking 8,000 questions about their partner's past. Asking their partner 8,000 questions, or perhaps even more, about their partner's past. So this can involve things like reassurance seeking, making sure you really are the best person that they've ever been with. This can involve just asking for really intricate details, perhaps sexual details about their past, asking for information about specific people that their partner was once with, yada, yada, yada. And this often goes beyond kind of the general getting to know questions that couples often ask when they come together, when they initially meet. What was your ex like? What kind of relationships have you been in? This is often more nitty-gritty details about their partner's past relationships or their sexual history. And as I say endlessly on this channel and in my products and certainly in my coaching calls and all the rest, asking for more details about your partner's past and getting endless details about your partner's past is not the way to beat retroactive jealousy. I always say, ask your deal breaker questions. For example, one of them could be, have you ever had kids before? That's a deal breaker for you. Okay, then you're entitled to that information because it's something very important to you and you're willing to walk away based on the answer to that question. That's a deal breaker issue. You can ask about that. But other than that, if you're trying to solve retroactive jealousy by asking for every single nitty-gritty little detail about your partner's past, that's not the way to beat this issue. In fact, it's going to make things worse because you're kind of adding fuel to the fire. You're giving to your subconscious mind more details to paint all kinds of mental movies with, and these questions and these answers will lead to more questions, and it never ends. When you get an answer to a question that makes you feel good, you feel great for an hour or maybe 2 hours or maybe even a day or maybe even a week, but sooner or later more questions will come back. More questions will enter your mind and you'll just need, or you'll at least feel this need or this urge to ask even more questions. It's the pathway to hell, it's a vicious cycle, and it's not the way to beat retroactive jealousy. There are many ways to get out of this vicious cycle. I go into many of them in my most popular product, my online course, Get Over Your Partner's Past Fast. But I wanted to provide a few more tips for anyone who's struggling with the urge to ask their partner questions about their partner's past. So number 1, ask yourself what this behavior is costing you. This behavior is coming at a cost. And the more you figure out what that cost is, perhaps the less likely you're going to be to engage in this behavior moving forward. So what do I mean by a cost? Well, maybe these questions make your partner feel bad about themselves, and it leads to some fights and some awkward situations. So we want to avoid that, hopefully. Maybe asking these questions makes you feel bad about yourself. Maybe it makes you feel embarrassed, either later on or maybe even in the moment, when you're asking all these ridiculous questions about your partner. Maybe it leads to fights, maybe it leads to complications in the relationship, maybe it leads to a decrease in the frequency of your intimate life. There could be any number of costs that this behavior is costing you. And the more you figure out what that is, hopefully the less likely you'll be to engage in this moving forward. It could also be extending your retroactive jealousy. It could be prolonging your suffering. Because again, the more details you get, the more your subconscious mind has all this ammunition, the more this behavior adds fuel to the retroactive jealousy fire. So there are many costs associated with asking your partner endless questions about their past. So reflect on that and come up with your own answers. Another question to ask yourself if you're struggling with the urge to ask your partner endless questions about their past. Ask yourself if you've done this kind of thing before and whether or not it led to long-term peace. Now here's a little spoiler alert. It didn't lead to long-term peace. Because if it had worked before, if you'd asked questions and you'd felt better and it solved the issue, you wouldn't be feeling the same urge now. You wouldn't be wanting to ask more questions and get more details and cause another fight and cause more awkward situations. So ask yourself if you've done this before and whether or not it worked. Now, again, maybe it worked in the short term. In other words, maybe it worked for an hour. Maybe it made you feel better for a day. Maybe you had a great week after you had some big conversation with your partner about their past. But the point is, it doesn't lead to long-term freedom. And long-term freedom, long-term peace of mind is what I'm interested in. I'm less interested in the quick wins and giving yourself little dopamine boosts. What I'm interested in is long-term freedom, long-term peace of mind, long-term relief from retroactive jealousy. And this kind of behavior, asking your partner endless questions about their past, will not lead to long-term peace of mind. My third tip in this video is to remember that by doing this over and over again, you're actually ingraining a habit that needs to change. So habits are formed bit by bit, piece by piece, over time. The more you repeat something and the more you get some kind of a reward for repeating that thing, the more that habit is going to be ingrained. Now, what is often the reward in air quotes, when you ask your partner questions about their past? The reward is, it's almost like you have an itch on your skin. If you're a retroactive jealousy sufferer, you'll know what I mean. It's almost like you have this itch and you want to scratch it so bad. And so you scratch it for a minute and, oh, that feels really good. So when it comes to asking your partner questions about their past, let's say you ask them about their ex and you find out he was kind of a douchebag or he was kind of a loser, and that gives you a little ego boost. That gives you a little dopamine hit and wow, that feels good, right? So you're rewarding yourself for behavior that needs to change because you got that little ego boost. You got that little dopamine hit. That's the reward that you often get when you ask your partner questions about their past. Or, they just give you answers that you want to hear. That's a reward. And by engaging this behavior over and over and over again, you're conditioning yourself to continue engaging in that behavior. It's like teaching a dog, how to do tricks, right? How do you teach a dog how to do tricks? Well, you give them a reward every time they do the trick. They learn how to sit and you give them a little treat and it tastes good and they get that dopamine boost. They get that little boost, that little reward. They're going to do that over and over and over again because you're conditioning them based on that reward. You might think it's weird to compare yourself to a dog, but human beings aren't so different in some ways. We make decisions based on incentives. And thus, the more you give yourself an opportunity to get that reward, that reassurance from your partner or whatever, the more you're conditioning behavior that really needs to change. My final tip is to, instead of asking your partner 8 million questions about their past, focus on what actually works. Now you might ask, Zach, what actually works when it comes to beating retroactive jealousy? Well, I've made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of free videos on this topic. If you go through my YouTube channel, and certainly if you go to my website, retroactivejealousy.com, my products and services, I've given away so much information on this topic. There are so many things that actually works when it comes to beating retroactive jealousy. Some of these things include mindfulness. Some of these include exercises from cognitive behavior therapy. Sometimes this can involve different kinds of exposure therapy. Sometimes this can involve meeting up with a really good skilled therapist or coach and talking through the issue that way. We can also learn much from the literature on OCD when it comes to beating this issue. The point is, there are so many better solutions when it comes to beating retroactive jealousy, aside from bringing this problem to your partner's doorstep repeatedly. In other words, when you ask your partner endless questions about their past, you're kind of saying to them, listen, I have these insecurities, I have this problem, retroactive jealousy, and I need you to solve this for me. It's almost like you're throwing them the hot potato, right? Solve this for me, fix this for me. And that's not the way it works. I have lost track of the number of well-meaning partners of retroactive jealousy sufferers who have reached out to me and said, listen, Zach, I'll pay you whatever I want to sign up for coaching with you. Just help me fix this problem for my partner. And without fail, I turn them all down because that's not how this problem works. Your partner cannot solve this for you. But the good news is this problem will start improving for you. You will start making real progress the more you own this problem for yourself 100% and start doing more of what works and much less of what isn't, including asking your partner for endless details about their past. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you got anything out of this today, please take a minute to let me know by clicking the like button below. Also leave a comment, tell me what you think, and while you're at it, please be sure you are subscribed to my channel to be notified of new videos moving forward. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you again soon.